Hello guys, in this video we're going to talk about a company that I consider to have the potential to be the next Nvidia. And that company is ARM Holdings. You can't run artificial intelligence without ARM. 99% of the phones that people are using right now have an ARM device inside them. More than 70% of all electronics have a design made by ARM. And ARM gets revenue from that design for each product that the company sells. From each iPhone, from each Apple M3 computer, ARM receives a dividend for each product. This was the IPO at 45. Initially, it started at 55. And after earnings, it reached $126.61. In my trading group that you can find in the description of this video, you can see this conviction buy that I had on ARM since January 13th. This is what I wrote in the group. This is what the CEO, Rene Haas, said, that you can't run artificial intelligence without ARM, and it might be the next Nvidia in 2-3 years. I'm going to share right now some print screens from my WhatsApp trading group. On September 14th, I wrote that it's the ARM IPO today. It was oversubscribed. Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Taiwan Semiconductors bought shares worth $750 million because they wanted a piece of ARM. My opinion on the IPO day was that it will go higher than $51, and indeed, intraday it went to $60.60, went up 18.81%, even more at some point. And then on September 18th, I noticed that there were a lot of puts adding on ARM, and you can see the volumes here. The biggest bet was on the 55 strike price put. The entry price back then was 57.34, and it received an underperform rating from Bernstein. At expiration on October 20, those ARM puts went up 2.85x. But on January 10th, I noticed that someone bought calls worth $7 million expiring January 16th, 2026. They were bought at the money, and the price back then was around $21. Institutions are trying to find the next Nvidia, I was telling the group members back then. And as you can see, some of the group members said that Amazon launched an ARM-based processor, as well as Microsoft, and the fact that all big technology companies are dependent on ARM. Then I was asked if should we buy the calls before the earnings release. Even though what we talk here or in the group is not financial advice and you need to do your own research before investing, I said that in my opinion, if institutions are loading calls before the earning release, I will follow them personally. And this was my limit order for ARM calls, 72.5 strike price. On January 30, it was still adding calls worth a few million every day in the past 2 weeks for January 16, 2026. On a long run, I think is the next Nvidia. Last time they had a record profit on their last earnings. I talked about MSCI as well, but considering still ARM the next Nvidia. After the earnings, from about $65 when I mentioned those calls, ARM went to 126.60 and the calls went up 2.42x. This wasn't the peak. The peak was higher than 3x. This was around $110, $115. If you also want to get this type of signals, you have the Patreon link of my trading group in the description of this video.